million rands has been declared, with the ANC leading the pack at over 7 million rands, followed by the DA and the IFP. For more on this story, we're now joined by IEC CEO Sy Mamabolo. Mr. Mamabolo, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. The lowest ever, second lowest amount ever declared since the new law came into effect on the 1st April 2021. No real surprises, given that we've just come out of an election, and that's when parties generally raise a lot of money and need a lot of money for their campaigning, isn't it?
No, indeed, Puyo. The donations and the fundraising curve also follows the electoral activity. Closer to an election and during election time, you see the curve grow quite exponentially. Now, in circumstances where there's no election inside, that activity tends to go down. So, but we do hope that all political parties really do declare as they are supposed to, because at the end of the financial year, the audit industry needs to take the country into confidence in saying we've looked at the books of a particular party and all the declarations have been made in line with the Act. And that's an important thing, because they have that public mandate to ensure that they audit the books of parties, and in those audit reports give an indication as to whether the books of that particular party have been run in accordance with the prescripts of the Act.
I mean, over the years, people who have been looking at the sort of amounts that political parties have actually declared have sort of tended to question whether, in fact, the system actually works. I don't know if any have sort of interested parties have actually raised this matter formally with you?
No, not at all. But those sentiments abound in society, and there may be justification in such sentiments being held in certain quarters of the country. But certainly, we've not received a formal complaint to say Party X has not declared all the income. Were that to happen, I think it does give a duty on the Commission to look at whether there may be a prima facie case to answer by a specific party. In other words, whether there's a basis for an investigation into the affairs, the financial affairs of the party concerned.
How much probing do you have to do when collating this information from political parties? In other words, how difficult or easy is your task? I guess I'm trying here to get into understanding, just how you go about doing this work.
Well, the framework is a two-tier framework, in a sense that parties on their evolution, they have to declare all income above 100,000, both financial and in-kind, to a maximum value of 15 million. So that is, if you like, party-driven. And in that scenario, our duty is to collate, do the verifications, and issue a report to the country, such as we have done yesterday. Now, the second tier of the framework is that the accounting officer of a political party at the end of the financial year must compile annual financial statements, which will obviously reflect the declared amounts as well as other income that may not have been declarable, such as membership fees, and all other things, sales from tables and those types of things. In other words, the annual financial statement must reflect all income received as well as all expenses made, and that must be given to a publicly registered auditor, who must then do the audit procedures and then, once satisfied, indicate whether that party has applied financial mechanisms in line with the provisions of the Act. That's why I'm saying it's a two-tier thing. It's a declaration every quarter and an annual financial statement at the end of the financial year to be audited by a public auditor. So, in a sense, then we rely as well on the public audit industry, because if there's got to be probity, it has to be enforced as well at that level by way of reporting.
Have there ever been instances where you thought, as the Commission, that the numbers went numbering, and then there would be a toing and froing, disputes even?
No, in fact, we referred a number of parties to the Electoral Court, because we don't adjudicate violations to the Act. Those are within the purview of the Electoral Court. So we referred a few political parties who had failed to disclose certain finances to the Commission, or they've given us half-baked information, so to speak. And the Electoral Court issued fines against those parties. What I think is really an issue that requires review is that if a party offends for the first time, the administrative fines that the Electoral Court can impose are very low. For instance, is 40,000 for a first offense. Now, a party that gets 10 million, which is not declared, 40,000 is little for that type of transgression. So, I think as we gain experiences from implementing this piece of law, and as witnesses come to the fore, there may be a need to review the framework in its totality, but in particular the administrative fines that the Electoral Court can impose.
I'm sure in a year's time or so we'll be talking a completely different picture from what we are seeing now, with, of course, local government elections looming. How are the initial preparations going in that regard?
Well, local government elections, in terms of the law, they have to be held between the beginning of November in 2026 until the end of January 2027. And the Minister of COGTA is the responsible authority for the determination of the date in consultation with the Commission. Of course, an interministerial committee has been established with a view to oversee politically the preparations. The Commission, on its part, is gearing itself, is beginning to articulate the various projects and activating them so that we can start in earnest to prepare for those elections. The Municipal Demarcation Board, we've already met with them, and they've indicated that they will give us the final sets of ward boundaries on the 25th, or at the end of October 2025. So those broad plans have been outlined, and the institutions that are responsible, because it's an interagency dependency which is involved here, and those dependencies are being ironed out in the IMC as well as on a bilateral basis.
Give us an update, if you will, Mr. Mamabolo, around Tabazimbi, which, as many people would know, was dissolved, which means it has to be fresh by elections in that municipality. How are things going there?
Well, Tabazimbi, it's a hotly contested council-wide by-election. There are 405 candidates vying for 24 seats, 12 ward seats and 12 PR seats, proportional representation seats. So we've prepared accordingly. We've mobilized security services because we've got to protect our equipment. We've got to protect our staff and the general voting public. But I must say, the reports that we've been receiving is that the climate in which the by-election is going to be happening appears to be very cordial, with a good camaraderie between the candidates and the various political parties. We'll open, as per normal, for special votes on Tuesday. There's just over 4,000 such voters who are going to be voting at the voting stations on Tuesday, and another 600 who are going to be visited at their homes on Tuesday, then the big day on Wednesday. We do expect to have a preliminary sense of the outcome of that by-election by mid-morning on Thursday. Logistically, we are good. We are finalizing the training of presiding officers and staff tomorrow, and on that end, we should not be having difficulties.
Mr. Mamabolo, let me thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Sy Mamabolo, the Chief Electoral Officer, giving us an update on both, of course, the second quarter disclosure reports of the 2024-2025 financial year, but also an update on the situation in Tabazimbi, which was dissolved, so the entire municipality has to go for elections this coming Wednesday.